Are knowledge workers and knowledge work obsolete? Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of The Future in 5. My name is Jacob Morgan, and this is where I share my thoughts, ideas, and commentary on the future of work in 5 minutes or less most of the time. Today I wanted to talk about knowledge workers and knowledge work. In my previous book in 2012 called The Collaborative Organization, I spent a lot of time researching knowledge work and knowledge workers. Now, this idea of a knowledge worker and knowledge work was first introduced by Peter Drucker in 1969. And the concept was basically that if you work with knowledge and information, you are a knowledge worker. So most people that sit in an office or that work behind a desk were knowledge workers, and most people that were out in manufacturing facilities and assembly plants were manual workers. So we had manual workers, and a step up at the time was this idea of a knowledge worker. Now, is that still relevant today? I don't believe so, and this is why. Now, first, let's go back a little bit, a couple of years. In order to get knowledge and to understand knowledge, you had to become an apprentice. Yeah, right. You worked as an apprentice for somebody else, and you learned new skills. You learned how to do something. You learned knowledge, and that knowledge is what made you valuable. And it wasn't something that you could get and figure out elsewhere. You had to work with somebody side by side to figure out how to do these things. Now, today, thanks to the web, thanks to social media, etc., we live in a very, very different world. We see this in our personal lives all the time. I mean, how many people do you know that learn how to do something by looking up a YouTube video, such as repainting or repaving a driveway, fixing a leak, painting a house, rebuilding a car engine, learning how to hang something on the wall, such as a TV mount? We learn how to do all these things through these social channels, through the web. So we're no longer, in my opinion, this concept of knowledge workers and knowledge work is becoming obsolete and is being replaced by this idea of becoming a learning worker. If you were to put myself, or pretty much anybody that you know, in a room with some of the smartest people that you know, chances are we would be able to answer many of the same questions that they would be able to by getting access to the web. In other words, to be the smartest guy in the room, all you need is access to a smartphone, which pretty much everybody has nowadays, at least the people that you and I would know. So this idea of a knowledge worker, I think, is being replaced by the concept of a learning worker. And a learning worker is somebody that has this capacity to learn how to learn. In other words, they learn new things and they apply the things that they learn to new environments, to new scenarios, to new things that they are presented with. And that is far more valuable than being a knowledge worker, than knowing something in your mind. And so if we were to look at this as kind of an ascension, it would be kind of manual worker. A step up is the knowledge worker. And where we are going is this idea of a learning worker. And we've already heard of the term learning organization, which is basically an organization that is able to learn and adapt. But you can't have an organization that learns to adapt without having employees that learn to adapt. This is something that I talk about in my new book on the future of work. And it's something that I'm starting to see a lot of from the interviews that I'm doing for the podcast and for the articles that I write with various executives and business leaders and companies that I speak with. So it's definitely a big push that we're seeing. It's definitely something that a lot of organizations and executives are concerned about and that they are trying to figure out how to implement and instill within their organizations. Collaborative technologies, innovation programs, all these different types of things are pushing organizations and workers towards being learning workers, not just knowledge workers. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. I'll see you next time on an episode of The Future in 5. In the meantime, let me know what you think. I'm curious to hear your thoughts if you are a knowledge worker, especially, and how your role and how your professional life is evolving. So don't forget that idea, the learning worker. That is where we're going. See you next time.